Hello, fifth graders. Today we're going to go over how to subtract decimals, how to round numbers, how to divide, and how to find prime factors. So for the first lesson we're going to go over is how to subtract decimals. It says find the difference, and we're going to find the difference of number 1. So it says 16 minus 0.015. So the first step when you're subtracting, it's the same as when you're just subtracting. So decimals is no difference. The first step is to put them on top of another. But the different part is that there's a decimal point, and we have to take that into consideration. So I like to put 16 on the top, and because it's a greater number. So watch how I place 0.015. So 16 point. So there's a decimal point after 16. We just don't see it. Now I'm going to place the 0.015 below it. So now if you noticed how I placed it so the decimals are aligned on top of each other like this, a vertical line. So this is how you're supposed to correctly place it when you're subtracting. So when you do this is an incorrect of placing subtraction. If you do this, you will get the wrong answer. You cannot do this either. This is not allowed as well. The reason why is because the decimal point is over here for 16, and the decimal point is here for 0.015. They're not on top of each other. They're diagonal. It has to be on top of each other like this. So once you correctly place it, now all you have to do is subtract it normally. So this is the easy part. The first step is the hardest part because if you place your decimal points wrong, if you place these numbers wrong, your final answer will be completely wrong. So keep that in mind as you do the first step. So after you subtract everything, you should get 15.985, and this will be your final answer for number 1. The second section we're going to go over is how to round numbers, and we're going to be rounding to the underlying number. So on the right side over here, I drew a diagram. It'll be much easier to understand after I explain it. It is a bit confusing now. So number 1 over here, we're going to round 218,830. So we see the underlying number is 8. So our 8 over here. So this underlying number, I'm just going to underline it black again. So now the first step when you first round to underline number is look at the number to the right. So I'm going to circle this in red. When you're doing this, you can also do what I'm doing. It'll be visually understandable and easier to comprehend. So the number to the right of it is 3. Now if you look over here, I did the same thing over here. This is the underlying number, and the right of it I circled in red. So now look at the red number, 3. In our case, our circle equals 3. This is a circle. So if your circled number is greater than or equal to 5, you're going to round the underlying number up. But if it's less than 5, you're going to keep the underlying number the same. So in our case, 3 is less than 5, so we're going to keep our underlying number the same. So we're going to keep it as 8. So I'm just going to write down 8 over here to show that I kept it at the same. If the number on the right side, the circle number, was greater than or equal to 5, we will write 9 over here instead of 8. In this case, it was 3, which is less than 5, so I'm going to keep it as 8 over here. So now over here, the next part, the blue and the green, is the next step. So the blue represents the numbers left to the underlying number. So our blue includes 2, 1, and 8. So these numbers we're going to keep the same. So I'm going to keep this the same. And the green is the numbers right of the underlying number. This includes your circled red as well. So it includes 3 and 0. And these ones we have to change to 0. So I'm going to change it to 0. So our rounded final answer will be 218,800. So I'm going to go over number 2. So because number 1 might have been confusing, it says 615,571. So our underlying number is 5 over here. And then the number on the right of it is 5. So I'm going to circle it in red. So now since this circle number is greater than or equal to 5, it's greater or equal to 5, so we're going to round the underlying number up. So we're going to round 5 to 6, so I'm going to place 6 over here. So rounding up just means adding it by 1, which I did to 5. So I added by 1 so it goes 6. Now I'm going to identify which is blue and which is green. So blue is the numbers left of the underlying number, which is 6 and 1. So these I'm going to stay the same, 6, 1. And then now the green ones are the ones right of the underlying number, which is 5, 7, 1. So these ones I will change to 0. So our final rounded answer is 616,000. Pretty easy after you understand how the diagram works. Now the third section we're going to go over is how to divide, and we're going to find the quotients. So we're going to find the green. So over here I color-coded the components of division. So I'm going to use these to help you understand how to divide, which should be fairly easy. So our dividend, I'm going to just color-code it, is 194. Our divisor is 30. So I'm going to place the divisor outside the division sign. This is the division sign. And I'm going to place the dividend inside of it. Now I just have to divide normally. So I'm going to take the green for the quotient. So 30 goes into 194. This might involve more thinking about as you do this. But you will know that 30 goes into 194 6 times because 30 times 6 is 180. And when you subtract this, 194 minus 180, you will end up with, so this is just subtracting, you'll end up with 14. This is your remainder. So I'm going to write remainder 14 over here. So after you're done dividing, make sure that your remainder should be less than your divisor. So that is like a way to check if we're doing it correctly. So your final answer for number 1 should be 6, remainder 14. Now the last section we're going to go over is prime factors, and we're going to list the prime numbers for each number. So we're going to go over number 2 and number 4. Number 2 over here, 13, you can just do a prime factor tree if you want. 13, we know it goes down to 1 and 13. So our prime number for 13 is just 13 because 13 is a prime number. As for number 4, 9 is not a prime number, it's a composite number, so it does not have a prime number. So if you're going to write not a prime, this section is fairly easy. You just have to identify whether these numbers, your question is a prime or composite. If it's a composite, it's not a prime. If it's a prime, you'll just write the prime number down here like this. So, and that's it for today.